You see the 37% proficient meets or exceeds, and we're at 40% this year, so we're happy to be moving in the right direction. Math, if you look at 2018 and how low we were below the state with our meets and exceeds the performance standards, you will see that there, even though we are at state levels this year, there was significant improvement between this year and last year when it comes to math proficiency.
Another indicator that the state looks at is freshmen on track, so not just waiting for them to get to that senior year, but watching them all along. So the freshman on track rate is based on students who are passing at least 5 courses, and they can't be failing any of the core courses. So our on track rate is 89.5%. It's a little bit above the state average, so again, another point of pride for us. We are focusing most of our energies at this point on locating those courses that are the biggest sources of failures for freshmen and seeing what we can do to boost the pass rates in those classes.
The thing that I'll tell you about this slide that I think stands out the most, it's broken down by advanced placement and how many students are enrolled. Bottom line, we're talking about how many students actually earn college credit. So if you look grades 9, 10, 11, 12, and you see those numbers on the bottom row, 45, 215, 563, and 957, in case you can't see them from where you are, that's 1,590 students earning college credit. And we feel like that is important, and that is a big deal for our school. And we'll continue to work on having even more students do that, but that's a point of pride for us.
And then as you can see, our overall advanced coursework has been increasing pretty steadily over time. So we are up about 40 or 35, 40 exams this year. Sometimes there's fluctuations in just what courses students enroll in, and we'll see that a little bit on the next slide. But overall, we're seeing that our students are still enrolling in those courses, and again, at increasing rates. And we're also seeing our pass rates remain relatively constant, and our students who are high scorers are still achieving those high scores. For us, that's an indicator that we're able to expand those programs and we're not watering them down at the same time. There's still that same level of quality that the students have been experiencing all along. This next slide is going to break down the different grade levels. So you see some of those lines look a little bit wild, but those lines, even the sharp turns, represent about 35, 40 students. And again, sometimes just throughout the scheduling process, you have a section that doesn't run or does run of a course. So in some years, we might have 30 or 40 more students available in a given course than in another. So the thing that we always focus on is that long-term trend line. Oh, my laser's, there it is. The long-term trend line, which is just gradually increasing over time. And you know, over the next couple of years, we'll probably see those lines crisscross each other again.
So I'm not going to delve into this deeper because we have someone who's going to come up here and talk a little bit about our career and technical enrollment and what we do here to get students prepared to enter careers. What I will say though is we have 1,189 students who have at least one CTE course. So you're talking about those courses that you can actually learn work skills and go from high school to job. And Mr. McCarthy will talk to us a little bit more about specific courses and some of the specific work that we do when he comes up in the next section of the presentation. Chronic absenteeism, just with these two different points here between last year and this year, you notice that chronic absenteeism has decreased. That means that students are coming to school more, being present more. That's the direction we want that to be moving in.
Student mobility is basically the percentage of the students who are moving in and out of the district at any given time. So it's not necessarily an increase or decrease, it's both the increase and decrease. So our mobility rate is 5%, which is relatively low. That's something that we've seen over the last several years. It's definitely decreased over time. It's helpful for us because the longer that we have them, the longer that they're in the district, the more success that we see out of our students. And similarly, these are the numbers for after high school. So our students are enrolling in college, as we saw earlier, at a very high rate. We have 78% of our seniors go on to enroll in college in the first 12 months after high school. So that's a great number, and we also, and you'll hear more about those details, that those kids are staying in college. So for us, that's a signal that when they left school in here, they were prepared for that next level. So they can make it through that first year and continue. Both HF and the state overall just saw a very slight decrease this year, and that's about 2-3%. In the students enrolling, and there are a number of things that can factor into that.
So now we're going to talk about opportunities, because any great organization always looks at what are the things they need to do and what are the things they need to do better. So the first opportunity we're going to talk about is post-secondary remediation. So let's define what remediation and where those numbers come from first. So this is looking at the number of students who go to a community college when they leave here. They go to a community college in Illinois, and they enroll in a class that they need in order to bring their skill levels to another level. So they need a little bit of help when they move on to the next level. So we're talking about this college remediation. When you look and you see the numbers up there, where it gives you overall the 44%, we're talking about 147 students out of our student population of 600, or graduation of 674, 147 have gone to community colleges, which is 21% of those students, approximately 22, and 60 of those students are enrolled in remedial courses. So you gotta peel that all the way down to what we're actually talking about and what that number is based on. And that is that we have 60 students who are enrolled in remedial courses. And if you look at us and how we compare to the state, which is the number we wanna have, we have a lower percentage of students enrolled in remedial courses. Here's another opportunity, and that is talking about our achievement gap. And yes, there's an achievement gap. Wherever you look all over the United States, yes, you see an achievement gap. But that doesn't mean that we don't want to work on ours. And we're going to talk about some ways that we are working on it. But when you look at those numbers there, you can see the different ways that our achievement gap manifests itself. So if you look and you see our white students, you see that 68% meet or exceed when it comes to the SAT performance on English. When we move to our black students, we're at 33%. We're at 39% with our Hispanic students, 23% with our low-income students, and 11% with our students with IEPs. All of those areas are areas that we have opportunity for growth. Same thing when we move on to our math. When we move on to our math, you can also see this significant gap here where we have 69% of our white students meeting or exceeding. And when you look at our other subgroups of students, you're looking at 28% of our African American students, about 32% of our Hispanic students, 19% of our low income students, and 10% of our students with IEPs meeting or exceeding the standards. So this is an opportunity that we have for improvement, and that is closing the achievement gap. Another opportunity is overall SAT performance. We will continue to want everybody on the SAT to perform better, and that's something that we're going to continue to work on. And in these next slides, we're going to talk about how we're actually going to do that work and what we've already begun. So I call it our work together, because it really does take all of us. It takes all of our teachers, our administration, it takes our parents, and it takes our students, everybody to make effort in order to make the changes that we need to have.